January of 1955, no, actually January of 1956, I joined the National Guards in Fort Mill. And I never will forget the physical. Most people, when you join the service, gets a real physical. But to join the National Guard, all I had to do was get my family doctor to sign a piece of paper. So I went down there to Dr. Shepard, and I told him what I was going to do, and he said, well, just sit down there and I'll ask you a question. He was filling it out. He never touched me, did not check anything about me. Well, I had bad eyesight and hearing, and so I probably would not have passed the physical as far as the Army was concerned because I couldn't see and couldn't hear well enough. But, of course, I got in, enjoyed it, really. Lots of my high school friends was in it as well. One of the first experiences I had was going down to Fort Jackson for a rifle range. We had to qualify with our rifles, and the first day we were down there, part of the detail of setting up for the night was to unload beer off of a truck for the people that drank beer. And here I was thinking about the ministry at that time, unloading beer for people. Also, when we got out at the range shooting a M1 rifle, with my eyesight, I just barely could see the target. But somehow or another, I finally qualified for it. But the next year we went down there, I was supposed to qualify with a .45 pistol. And I had an old pistol that, I don't know, I guess it was in the Second World War that they had made it. But anyhow, I couldn't get the bullet to the target. And the lieutenant was chewing me out about shooting in the ground. And I kept telling him, I'm aiming way above the target. He said, let me have that pistol. So he took it. He was going to aim, and he was landed about halfway between the target and the pistol. Because the barrel on the thing was wore out, so the bullet wouldn't even reach the target. So he didn't apologize or anything, but he made me get another gun, another pistol, and shoot it to qualify for that. A couple of summers after that, when we was on 2 weeks camping down at Fort Stewart, Georgia, we had already gone to Fort McClellan, Alabama, and then we went to Fort Stewart, Georgia, and you always spent 1 week out in the woods of those two, camping out in the pup tents and so forth. My job was to drive a track vehicle that we hauled a big mortar machine gun on. That you dropped a shell in it and it would hit a target 2 or 3 miles away. I enjoyed driving it. Leon and Moore and Banks, we were all in that together, and we was all close friends, so we had a good time. Bobby Dover was our sergeant. He was good to us. We got out there, and there was lots of snakes out there. I saw the biggest rattlesnake I ever seen out there. Somebody killed it, but one night, one of my friends, Jerry Yarber, was sleeping in his tent, or he had his tent set up, and we came in from maneuvers, and he crawled in the tent, and he felt something wiggle under his blanket, and it was a snake. He almost tore that tent down, getting out of it, but that was not unusual to run across snakes down there like that. Well, after we spent a week out there, we were coming back into camp, and of course on that track vehicle we had a special trail to follow, and it had been pouring down rain. It was slick and muddy, And of course, with the track vehicle, I didn't have any trouble. I was running along fine. But the lieutenant and his driver was right in front of us. And his driver told Lieutenant Hammond, said, I'd like to drive that track vehicle. And he said, well, pull over. So he pulled over and he come back there to where I was and said, Lieutenant said, you come up there and drive him and let me drive this track vehicle the rest of the way in. I said, okay. So we swapped drivers. I got up there in the Jeep. It was an open Jeep, just no top or anything on it. And as I said, it'd been pouring down rain, and there was mud puddles everywhere. And you had to dodge them if you could. Well, we gone maybe a half a mile, and I'd been dodging them, but they come to a big one, and I really didn't think it was that big. So I hit it on the side where the lieutenant was at, and it just covered him and me in mud. And he cursed me for everything he could think of, but we drove on in, but we would look like mud people, the way we were covered up with mud. But he never did want me to drive him anymore in the Jeep. One time while we were at camp, I was dating Barbara at the time. We would all go down to this pay telephone at night and call people, call our home or whoever we wanted to call. And I called, you had to put the money in, of course, before you talked. And I was talking to Barbara, and the operator kept saying, your time's up. Well, I just kept talking. I talked for a long time, and when we finally hung up, the phone started ringing, and it was the operator. And she said, you owe $2 and something more for telephone. And she said, I'm going to charge it to the number that you called. So here she was charging Barbara's daddy and mother $2 and something for long distance call for me calling her and talking to her on the phone. One of the things I remember about National Guard is they came around giving shots for different things. They lined us up one Sunday morning to give us shots, and I was third in line. And this young boy was giving shots, and I noticed he seemed to be pretty uncertain about himself and nervous about it. And so when he came to me, I said, how many shots have you give? He said, let's see, one. You're the third one. So at least I wasn't the first one, but he was shook up about giving those shots, and I was shook up about him giving them.